pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, so we're being recorded. We're not going live tonight, but we're being recorded. If you want to address the board, please state your name and who you're with. And if you're going to record, please let us know. Cover all those bases? I think so. All right. So our first is a presentation by Judy Korzik, but she is not here. So we'll move on to number 2. Possible vote to appoint Madeline Watazik as interim executive assistant to the Board of Selectmen and town administrator. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
So you are interested in
Well, Jim
doing this
asked
for a
me,
little couple weeks?
And we had talked about this. FinCom's talked about this and stuff before. You know, it's nice to have a body there for a few hours a day to answer the phone, check the emails, if citizens come in, help them if you can. I think it's a better look for the town instead of having the office closed.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so he asked me if I'd be interested in doing some secretarial duties, and that was basically it.
Okay.
And, you know, I've always tried to help out where I can, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, that's what, answer the phones, and if I can help somebody, it is what it is, but I think it's gives the town a better look.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
Anything I can do to keep her from completely retiring?
Yeah, I know, right?
Because she keeps on trying to get away. We keep on dragging her back in.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how I feel, you know,
Well, we appreciate it,
Yeah.
because we do need somebody, so.
you know, because I've been there before when there's been nobody there, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not good, because then you hear the people saying, you know, this was before Jim was there, you know, that, well, there's nobody even, you know, there to get information or ask a question, or, you know, so.
Yeah.
We definitely need it.
Yeah. Any questions?
Well, may I make a compliment?
Yep.
So, I know she's very nice, she's very trusted, she's very honest. I think it's, she knows the system, she knows everything. I think it's a perfect match.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good. You want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll absolutely make a motion for Madeline. I make a motion to appoint Madeline Watazik as interim executive assistant to the Board of Selectmen and town administrator.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
David Dufresne, aye.
Derek Bailey's aye.
Richi Hacker, aye. Motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Got you back again?
Yeah.
Well,
Because this is your last day, right? You're out here now?
I'll be here tomorrow,
Tomorrow. Okay.
but that'll be all housekeeping,
Yeah.
cleaning up and all that, but yes, this is my last meeting.
All right.
and I spent some time with him going over
Okay.
some of the
Excellent.
stuff too.
All right, good. Okay, possible vote to open the special and annual town meeting warrants for the June 11th, 2026 meeting with anticipation of closing the annual town meeting warrant on April 9th, 2026 and the special on May 21st, 2026. Hopefully we get it. Anybody have a problem with it?
No.
Okay.
Sure, I'm good.
Let's make a motion.
I'll make a motion to open the special and annual town meeting warrants for the June 11th, 2026 meeting.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
David Dufresne, aye.
Derek Bailey's aye.
Richi Hacker, aye. Motion carries. Review of updated selectmen's meeting guidelines with an anticipated vote to adopt the updated guidelines. I updated the formatting a little bit, and then I added the 2 bullets kind of in the middle. Persons must address and anyone addressing the board. Otherwise, I think it's pretty much the same except for formatting.
Hmm?
Looks good.
Okay. So, somebody make the motion?
motion to, well, yeah, all right. I'll make a motion to approve the selectmen meetings, meeting guidelines as written.
All right, is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
David Dufresne, aye.
Derek Bailey's aye.
Richi Hacker, aye. Motion carries. Warrants and bills.
Holy cow.
Yeah, we're here already.
Getting done. Okay, number 5 here. Wow, there's not much there either. All right, for warrants, payroll 17-26, the amount of $134,901.27. Accounts payable 32-26 for $57,734.53. Accounts payable 33-26 for $36,185.45.
All right, motion made. Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
David Dufresne, aye.
Derek Bailey's aye.
Richi Hacker, aye. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to pay the following bills. Ty and Bond for $5,980. Beck Plumbing and Heating for $2,052. Entree Technologies for $3,273.76. Modern Pest for $125. Hamden Communications Corp. for $1,950. SBA Structures for $1,860.66. American Tower for $2,379.52. Turley Publications for $80. Peck Solutions for $649. Warren Store for $670.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
David Dufresne, aye.
Derek Bailey's aye.
Richi Hacker, aye. Motion carries. Minutes from the 12th of February.
I have to say, you write very well.
Thank you.
Good job. We'll always remember you for your meetings.
Good, sir.
All right, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 12th, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
David Dufresne, aye.
Derek Bailey's aye.
Richi Hacker, aye. Motion carries. New business. Well, so I'd just say under new business, we were supposed to have Judy Korzik here. She's with the Rural Health Transformation Program. Jim and I went to a meeting a few weeks ago in Ware to talk about the closure of Mary Lane and trying to get healthcare back in Ware. But Ware is in Hampden County? Hampshire County, okay. So it may be, I'm not sure how it works, but what this group represents is Worcester County, which we're a part of. So I don't know, I mean, ultimately, it's not like we can't use a
We
facility.
can
in
still
either
support
county.
it because it's still within our local region.
Yeah,
It's, we're not in the county, but
yeah. But maybe there's decisions
Surrounding
that could be
towns.
made that we wouldn't have a voice in. So this Rural Health Transformation Program was getting together basically towns that are on the western edge of Worcester County. So
where are they looking at
Very-
putting something?
I don't know.
No idea.
But it's with UMass. So I think actually it's farther along than what's going on in Ware. So that's good.
Well,
So-
it's that far along, but we don't know where it's gonna be. It's
Well,
not that
no,
far.
I don't remember if she mentioned
Oh,
it.
okay. Alright.
But yeah, they're looking at having a facility somewhere in one of those towns, so. And I think, like I said, I think they're farther along and maybe close to closing some sort of deal, so that would be great.
Definitely need something.
So I'll check with Judy and see what's happening. when she can come in.
May I ask, what would be the ideal if we wanted to resolve this, especially for the fire chief, you know, how they have to go farther away because, you know, there's no medical over there. what would be the solution? What would you like to see in town?
I mean, you know, the short answer is a hospital. You know, the reality is that we can only transport to an emergency facility, so, or emergency room. So for us, a minute clinic or critical care unit's not gonna do anything for us, you know, I mean, it'll help the residents have another avenue to maybe go, but the problem with those facilities when it comes to public safety is that it actually adds call volume to them, because people go there, they walk in with chest pain or something like that, instead of going to the hospital, and the first thing they're gonna do is call an ambulance and ship them to a hospital. So it actually ends up adding numbers to the already tax system when you put in an urgent care or critical care, whatever you wanna call it. So, you know, are they necessary for, you know, less emergent things? Absolutely. They take some of the burden off of, you know, emergency rooms and stuff, so they certainly have their place. But from, you know, from studies I've seen and speaking with other chiefs that have them in their communities, they actually tend to raise the call volume. Because people may go there for what they think is not, you know, something that can be treated, and the next thing they know, they're having, you know, they determine they're having stroke-like symptoms, or they're having this, and they can't handle them there, and they're immediately shipped out 911 to a facility. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's good for the community for walk-in non-emergency stuff, flus and colds and all kinds of things like that, but it can also be a little bit of a detriment sometimes too. So ideally, you know, Mary Lane, you know, I loved having Mary Lane here. I mean, I, you know, honestly miss Mary Lane, not just because it was the closest, but it was a very community-oriented, in my opinion, you know, place. I mean, you know, you're going to have your horror stories for every medical facility. Someone's going to have a bad experience at every single one of them, and some people hated them, some people hate Harrington, some people hate Wing, you know, you're going to have that. But in my experience, I thought that the staff at Mary Lane was fantastic. They're very well known to the community. They were trusted. So, you know, it's definitely missed, in my opinion.
So for the whole world out there, we are in need of a small hospital.
Yeah, I mean, having another area that's closer. I mean, Wing is obviously not that far away, but the problem is that they're at capacity all the time.
Everybody
goes. You know, and yeah, I mean, and that's the problem is that, you know, we've had many calls just recently where, you know, we refer to as holding the line, or holding the wall. You know, where you have a patient on a stretcher and you're there for 45 minutes or more. You know, so it's, you know, the turnaround time from doing a call from, you know, when I first started, it was an hour. You go to Mary Lane, come back, and you'd be going. You know what I mean? It was an hour. Now it's more like 2 to 3 hours. By the time the truck gets back into service, they get the patient, you know, it can go anywhere from between 2 and 3 hours sometimes. And if you go to UMass or Bay State, then it's at least that. So, you know, it is tough.
So in that case, is the person waiting in the ambulance, or is it that they can bring them in, but the driver has to stay?
No, we basically just, as we do, hold the wall. We lean against the wall with our stretcher in front of us. We continue whatever treatment is being done on the patients. We're required to continue that particular treatment for whatever it is. So, you know, they may need additional, you know, nebulizers or whatever, you know, whatever their issue is. We are, until they get, you know, until we transfer care to the ED staff, they're our responsibility.
So like a small emergency room, 10 beds, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there are some hybrid situations that I'm aware of. I've said it, you know, many times. One of the biggest issues that we face across the board is you know, the state. One of the biggest pink elephants in the room is the mental health side of things, and there's just really no facilities that are there for that, and that's a huge percentage of what we deal with nowadays. And unfortunately, all of that is also being funneled through the emergency rooms, and they're really not set up for that. They have certain pods and certain areas for that, but they're always at capacity. And you know, taking some of that strain and creating facilities where people can get the mental health that they can outside of an emergency room would certainly help too. But you know, that's been something that's been happening for a long time, and it's a whole different battle in trying to get that, you know, those fundings approved and stuff like that. But there's a lot of that stuff too. And you know, I do believe that having those, you know, and those types of, not only just a facility, but also clinics and stuff like that to help deal with some of that stuff would be a huge dog in the fight too, to help people.
Didn't Bay State just announce that they were cutting a bunch of jobs too?
I heard they were. I don't know how that is, but you know, I did see that they were laying
They're
off
already
some
at
people.
bare minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we were in the hospital not too long ago, and they said that they were getting rid of all the cleaning staff. the nurses that do like the regular, like, you know, like check your ID and all that stuff, they were gonna be responsible for cleaning the rooms.
I don't know if they talked to those nurses about that, 'cause that's not their job either.
Yeah, but they're making them do it, and I asked, are you in a union, and they said no. So,
Really?
Yeah.
And that is a bad practice, because you don't wanna put the high pay to take care of the trash.
Yeah, that's what they're
Yeah,
making
no.
them do.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they were cutting out a lot more than just cleaning.
That's
It-
just unfair.
I heard it was either 30,000 or something like that jobs, and I'm like, I didn't even know they employed that many people. And
Yeah.
that's what they were looking at cutting.
You're risking
It
the
was
service.
normal.
Unfortunately, healthcare is just becoming so expensive for so many different reasons, but, you know, it trickles down no matter what, whether it's you're getting treated at a hospital, you're taking an ambulance from Ware, Ward, or Palmer, like, you know, depending on the person's insurance and everything, you may get paid a fraction of what the actual bill may come to. And I mean, that's why we do abatements, that's why every town around us does abatements, that's why hospitals do it. I mean, you know, unfortunately, you know, by law, you're not allowed to balance bill or send someone a bill, you know, over and above what Medicare or Mass Health or whatever they may be on is required to pay. So it's a tough, healthcare has become a very tough system to work within because there's a lot of financial and legal restraints to be able to deal with that, unfortunately.
All right. Any other new business?
No,
Nothing,
that
sir.
was already
Okay.
sad enough.
Yeah. Old business?
No, I can't beat up on Jim here.
Yeah.
I asked about the credit card and paying the bill for highway department, or getting the, you know anything about the money from the highway department?
Somebody just pulled in with a truck that had.
That's Dan.
Dan,
That's Dan. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
So, Jim left me a message today. He had talked to, Brad Brothers is the TA in Palmer.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna issue cease and desist to Palmer Motorsports, probably over this August thing that's going on. And then there's gonna be a meeting, oh, the chief isn't here, but you're probably gonna get invited.
I'm fine with that. It's been a long time since we've all sat in the same room, so it's probably a good thing to get that done.
So I think that kind of shook the owner's tree a little bit, so I don't know that the meeting's been scheduled, but hopefully that'll be soon. So that's news on
I
that.
just saw another invite for a racetrack day.
oh, really?
Up there?
Another one?
Yeah, it was about little sport cars or something. I'm trying to look for it.
Okay. Well, if we find it, send it to Jim and then he can forward it on to Brad. Correspondence, do we have something? I thought I mentioned.
At the front, I put it at the front.
Oh, the
since
reading
it wasn't,
program.
yeah, that came in yesterday, so.
Okay. Warren Community Elementary School is excited to invite you to participate in our upcoming Community Reading Day. This event will be held on March 20th, 2026 from 9 to 10:30 at Warren Community Elementary School.
You mean Friday,
What did I say?
February, March 6th?
Yeah, okay. I know, whatever. All right, so, yeah, there'll be more information. Is it on the website or it'll be in the meeting minutes?
Well, they're asking
yeah,
us if
that'll
we
be-
want to.
Oh,
Do you want to read to the kids?
I don't know, I gotta
I
see.
know Jim does.
Yeah, but it sounded like it was anybody could
Yeah, I
do
got
it.
an invitation. Yeah, we read it. We
It's an
always
open
read it to the kids.
invitation. If you're interested, contact the school. All right, comments and concerns? Joe?
Well, gentlemen, Joe Conrad, resident. 4th of July this year is on a Saturday. This is the 250th anniversary of our country. I was wondering if you've heard from any boards and committees that are planning anything for this year? So I haven't seen nothing.
No, I don't know.
Nothing.
Anything else?
You want to be in charge of that?
Huh?
You want to be
I don't know. Do you want to be in charge of that?
I'm sure Parks Department's already working on something for that day, you know. They should get it done.
Right
I was just curious, the updated meeting guidelines, will they be posted tomorrow?
Are they out there? Oh. Yeah, I can give you a copy if you want.
Okay. I can just get on the website when I post it, but if you got an extra copy, then.
Yeah, I didn't post them yet, just because you guys are.
Yeah, we didn't put it in a group.
Yeah,
Okay. All right,
I wanted to follow up with that just real quickly. I just wanted the board to be aware of a Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court ruling that was issued in July of 2023. It's called Barron versus Kalenda. I'll just read a couple excerpts from a summary of that. They decided a case in which a resident of Southborough was ordered to leave a town meeting after correctly accusing the Board of Selectmen of violating open meeting laws, characterizing them as spending like drunken sailors, and describing one of the members as a Hitler. The state Supreme Court declared unconstitutional the town's public comment policy, which requires remarks in public meetings to be, quote, respectful and courteous, free of rude, personal, or slanderous remarks, close quote. Civility, the court held, can't be required in a public comment session of a governmental meeting. And I'm reading from an article, and I'm just so you're aware from context, I'm skipping ahead. Two more comments, two more sentences. In Barron, the court looked to the text of the Massachusetts Assembly Clause, which expressly envisions a politically active and engaged, even aggrieved and angry populace. And the last sentence. As a result, the court argued the Assembly Clause was supposed to protect even, quote, rude, personal, and disrespectful conduct. And I would just invite the board to, in light of that and your own review of it, to consider if our selectmen meeting guidelines comport with their decision. Because I suspect it doesn't quite do that, but I'll leave that for your
Yeah, I'll look at it again.
discretion.
I mean, we've got actual mass law. I didn't
Yeah.
look up all this stuff.
Yeah, you'd have to look at it. There's only one little section that I saw, I didn't do a thorough review of it, that basically just says that the chair does have the right to acknowledge or stop commentary from citizens.
Right.
In any case, and then just a follow-up from the last time I was able to attend to a meeting. I would like to address, I was requested to provide evidence of the untruths that were being spoken from one of the selectmen, and I still intend to do that, but I'll send notice to get on the agenda for that, because it'll take more than 3 minutes. Okay, thank you.
All right, our next meeting is Thursday, March 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
No, I feel like we didn't do enough.
No.
We should do it again. Do it again. Go with Bill's again.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor?
David Dufresne, aye.
Very, very sorry.
Hacker, aye. We are adjourned.